Blessings, brothers and sisters. I've decided that the sermon text is from the gospel. Here it is, verses 14 through 20. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they might see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For truly I say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not an iota, not a dot will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever relaxes one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. This is our text. Please have a seat, everybody. The words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Just a heads up and a thing for Murray. I've decided that the last three verses of the hymn we just sang will be the closing hymn today. Okay? And I'll tell you why later. Brighten up. Have you ever heard that expression? I used to come from my father a lot with a cuff across the back of the head. Brighten up. It's an expression that we use. We use it to tell people to stop being so, dim-witted. And it's an expression that we see all around us. We know how bright the sun is and how it lights up our life and how a little tiny, minuscule light, as Jesus said, in a room can light up the whole room. You know that perhaps if you have trouble sleeping with light in your room at night and you're one of those people who hasn't learned yet and takes your cell phone to the bedroom and then it turns on and that little light lights up the whole room and wakes you up from your sleep, and you read a commercial that tells you should buy a new car or something like that. Let's not get off track. Let's talk about brightening up. Jesus is talking to everybody and telling everybody who believes in him what they are and who they are to the world. That's kind of nifty. First, he calls us salt. And you know, well, you've probably been told, like me, you don't put salt on your food, right? You're not one of those people who gets a plate of food in front of them and takes a salt shaker and shakes it all over there before you eat it, right? Oh, some of you are. Well, I forgive you. Don't do it anymore, because it's not good for you. Why? Because the food is full of salt already. But if you take it out, then it just, right? We need some saltiness in our life. In fact, our world needs saltiness. You know that most of the world is covered by water, and you also know that most of that water is salty, and it's necessary for everything that happens and goes on the way God has put the whole place together. And that's why Jesus takes the example from nature and from life in general and tells people you need salt to make things happen and to make them palatable and taste good and real, and it's worth something. And he says about us, you are the salt of the earth. You spice things up. Do you do that? You make things palatable. You make things understandable. You make things so people want them. You are the spice of life because you are a Christian and you are salt. Not the kind that loses its flavor and gets thrown on the ground, but rather the kind that spices things up wherever they go. And Jesus tells us that we are it. Nobody else, by the way. No special insertions into the world to spice it up, to be the salt of the earth. He tells us it's us because he uses that word you, and he talks about people who believe in him. So you are the salt of the earth. And he tells you not to lose your saltiness, not to lose your savor, not to lose your faith, your gusto, your power, the what makes you a Christian. By not using it is how you lose it, right? If you lose your saltiness, as Jesus says, you're good for nothing. But that's not totally what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about the brightness, the light of the world. We know that Jesus Christ is the light of the world. We know he has come into the darkness of sin to light everything up, and that no light can stand against his brightness. It's just so bright. It's tremendous. It's like you coming from a dark basement and opening the door into your backyard and having the sun hit you straight in the face. The lightness of Jesus is there on the earth to light everything up, but he makes it a little different because he says, you are also the light of the world. I stopped walking on the world, says Jesus. I stopped shining in the world. I ascended into heaven, but when I left, I turned you on. You are the light of the world. And light is, one of the good reasons we have light is to show things. If you're like me and your eyes are getting a little less useful, you have a great big bright lamp on your desk so that you can see. And it really helps when you turn on the light and you go, ah. The grandchildren say, Grandpa, can you help me with this work? And they give it to me and say, bring me a light. Bring me a light. And when you see it, aha, that's better. People can't quite make out the cross. They need some light to show them what it's all about. They're struggling to understand it. Or maybe they're not even struggling. Maybe they just plain don't know. Maybe for a lot of them, the cross is off in a dark corner, and they need some light shed upon it. And then they probably say, well, let's see what this is. And maybe they would go and look. Jesus said he came into the world to accomplish everything. Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Our job, I believe, brothers and sisters, is to turn on the light so that people may see Jesus. Jesus told us, you're the light of the world. That image about putting it under a basket, isn't that something? You've done stuff like that, right? You've hidden a light that when you were a kid, when you played games or you were having a spooky party, you would put a black cloth over the lamps in the room so as to darken things, to dim things so that people would have trouble seeing so you could scare them. But it was really fun if you were younger when someone finally pulled the cover off the lamp or turned on the switch so you could see what was going on. This is what it's like for us. We're not lost in a fog. We're not lost in the darkness. We know where the light is, and we know how to turn the light on. It's just that sometimes some of us would sooner not tell anybody where the switch is. This is my Jesus. He belongs to me. And I'll keep him for myself, thank you very much. And besides that, if I try to tell other people about him, or if I do click on the light and show them Jesus, they don't get it, and they laugh at me, and they ridicule me, they don't get it, and so I'd sooner not go there. So I think I'll keep Jesus a little dim so that people don't see him. But Jesus has said to us clearly, you're salt, you're light. You're it. You spice life up with my word, and you show me by reflecting my glory and my light, because you are the light of the world. The enormity of that statement kind of blows your mind for a minute when you think about it. You're not the light of Burlington. You're not even the light of your house or your neighborhood. You're the light of the world. Everywhere you go, you must reflect God's glory, and you must shine. As Jesus said, you can't hide it and keep it under a cover. I thought about that. You know, I've met people and known people and talked to people who've kept Christ under a cover. And you know what happens to them? This is one of the things that happens that just drives some people crazy until they get it. People want to know. They see a little bit of light leaking out, and they want to know. And that's when people come to us Christians, and they ask us, do you go to church? You say, yes, I do. Are you like a Christian or something? Yes, I am. Well, what's that all about? They might not say it in those words, but they are asking. Because there are many, many people out there, brothers and sisters, who don't get it and don't know. And that's why someone has to shed some light on their ignorance. I don't say ignorance in the bad way. I say ignorance in their not knowing. Someone has to show them with the light that shines from within. Here is my Jesus, and here is what he's about. Now, you don't have to use those words, but there must be a way, because you know you've had opportunity, right? You get opportunity all the time to be a Christian and to shine where you are. But we're very good at the cover-up. And I think we have a lot of bushel baskets. And I think sometimes when we're out and about and someone picks up our bushel basket and looks underneath, we have another one in our back pocket to put it over the light. Say, well, not now, I'm busy. Because they asked us about Jesus, or they gave us an opportunity. Perhaps your pastor in confirmation class, or this pastor, or some other pastor along the way has told you, you will get opportunity to talk about Jesus in your life. Here are the ways the opportunity will happen. And there are so many ways. And there's so many ways that you and I ignore. We don't have time. We have places to go, things to do. That religious stuff is for the professionals. But you know what? The trouble with us is we're stuck with being part of the professional core, because Jesus has said to us, you are the light. And that you encompasses all of us believers. It's not just them guys over there, but you. It sounds like law, but it's good news. Because imagine if you weren't the light. Imagine if Jesus just said, I don't need you. We don't want our Christ to say, I don't need you. When you say to someone, I don't need you, you start to say to them, I don't love you. And when you say to them, I don't love you, you start to say to them, I don't want you. Well, Jesus proved, on the contrary, that he needs you, that he loves you, and that he wants you. He told the people, look, I'm here, and I'm going to get the job done. I'm going to fulfill all the commandments. Nothing will pass from the law because it all needs to be there, but I'm going to make sure it's all done and done well. And when I do, please show me to others. Because you need to be righteous, and your righteousness needs to surpass that of those people over there who think they're holy and right, those Pharisees. It says yours has to be beyond that. But Lord, how can I do that? I'm hiding my light under a bushel, and I'm usually not very holy, not very righteous. And I think, if I may, brothers and sisters, Jesus is saying plainly to us, don't worry about all that. I just told you what you are, the light of the world. Shine where you are. Shine where you are. I have a favorite children's song that I've probably told you before. It's called Like a Sunflower, and maybe you've heard it. But the chorus of the song goes like this. Like a sunflower, I follow every movement of the sun. So I turn toward you and follow you, my God. Now, if you've ever driven by a sunflower field here in southern Ontario, you'll know that in the morning, all the flowers face east. And as the sun moves across the sky, they follow. Did you know that? That's probably why they're called sunflowers. But it's obvious in their when these great big flowers move across the field. And you can actually track it. You can sit there for 10 minutes and see them move a little bit. Like a sunflower that follows every movement of the sun. I turn toward you and follow you, my God. And that's how we brighten up. That's how we become the light of the world. By turning towards our God and reflecting his light, and soaking it up and follow him wherever he would lead us. And where he leads us, by the forgiveness of the wonderful forgiveness that he has provided for our most tenuous sins, where he leads us is to shine with all of his brightness. It doesn't have to be our brightness, because we don't have any. Lord knows we don't have any brightness. But when we reflect his light, we are like the sunflower. God is telling us in kind and gentle ways, not like a miserable person like me, but in kind and gentle ways, he's telling us to brighten up. He's telling us who we are. You are the light of the world. He never calls us dimwits. He never tells us that we're stupid, so we should brighten up. He gently and kindly, because of his forgiveness, tells us that he's lowly and meek, and he's coming to us, and he's our servant, and he tells us strongly, you are the light of the world. I have made you the light of the world. You don't have to do it on your own. Just keep turning, keep following. I will keep shining, and you will keep being empowered. So, friends, brighten up. Amen.